Have you ever felt like you're juggling an endless list of responsibilities with barely enough resources to keep up? You're constantly exhausted, but deep down, you rarely feel appreciated or happy. And then there's that nagging question. Am I really making enough money to justify this amount of pressure and risk? Welcome to Defy and Hustle Radio with Noreen E. I'm Noreen Ehrlich, and today I'm talking to you, the employee, the executive, the worker of any kind, at any level, anywhere on the globe. Let's get started. Did that scenario at the beginning sound familiar to you? I know I'm not the only one who's felt that way. I think about doctors, air traffic controllers, factory workers, or in my own experience in finance. In certain jobs, there's this unspoken rule. Your output has to be perfect, despite the limited time and resources you're given, or there's going to be a price to pay. I used to think this level of overwork was just part of the job, but after a while, I realized this is insane. Today, we're going to break down the 5 ways to know if you're another quiet victim of toxic productivity in the workplace. Toxic productivity, it's everywhere. It's that mindset where you're expected to work excessively at the expense of your health, your relationships, and your personal life. It's pervasive across many industries that demand high performance and rapid output, and sadly, it's glorified as a badge of success. In one of my previous videos, I discussed how industries spin this, and I'll link that video. But let's dive into it quickly together. In tech, engineering, and startups, the mantra is move fast and break things. You have to be innovating constantly. In finance, law, and consulting, they work 60 to 80 plus hour weeks, and that's seen as a sign of dedication. Healthcare workers face long shifts and immense pressure to care for patients. In academia, it's the publish or perish culture. Creative industries like advertising, filming, gaming, crunch time is the norm. Retail and service industries have unrealistic sales quotas and constant overtime. The question is, are we being liberated by our work, or are we being exploited? Toxic productivity has serious consequences, and I'm not just talking about the immediate pressures of meeting endless demands. The effects on workers are far-reaching and deeply personal. Let's break it down with 5 ways the employees get hurt. Number 1, burnout and mental health issues. We're constantly in a fight or flight mode. That emotional exhaustion, it's real. The stress often leads to anxiety, depression, and even physical health issues. I started getting sick, and then over time, I started to have panic attacks during my ride to work. Number 2, strained relationships and isolation. Work-life balance? What's that? The lines start to blur. leading to strained relationships, strained marriages, and isolation. When you're overworked, you withdraw. How can you express to your coworkers that you're so busy that you can't even connect with them or go out for a drink with them? At home, it can be very hard to connect with somebody who doesn't understand what you're going through. Number 3 is loss of autonomy. When profit margins take priority over employee well-being, workers lose their voice. You, as the worker, fear retaliation or job loss. And that silences any attempt you may want to make to speak out. Number 4 is economic pressures and job insecurity. We often feel like we have no choice but to endure toxic environments and just keep our jobs because we need that paycheck. With limited resources, we're simply expected to do more with less. And ultimately, number 5 is diminished career satisfaction. Overwork stifles career growth. When you're so busy, you can't even move to the next level of the organization if you wanted to. The desire for meaningful work fades, and it's replaced by disillusionment and stagnation. I have one client, she's very successful, executive level, highly paid woman, and she was so tired of her career. She just wanted to resign so she could walk dogs and at least she would feel appreciated. One of the most insidious parts of toxic productivity is how employers shift the blame onto the employee. It's gaslighting, plain and simple. This behavior it's freaking cruel, and it undermines your self-worth. Over time, you begin to doubt your own abilities. You question your decisions around tasks you've mastered a long time ago. And if your colleague or your spouse dismisses your experiences with things like you're being too emotional or I would have handled it this way, it can be even more traumatizing. Let me give you 3 examples of how companies gaslight their employees. Okay, gaslighting and blame. Here's 3 ways you can tell if you're being gaslit. Number 1, they individualize the responsibility. Employers downplay the effects of the toxic productivity by saying, well, you didn't ask for help or you chose to work those extra hours. Whereas in reality, the only way you could get to the next step of your project it was by staying the extra hours. And if you don't stay the extra hours, you're going to fall behind. So yes, you're making the choice to stay and work them, but you shouldn't have to constantly be working extra hours. Number 2, stigma against weakness. In many industries, admitting stress or burnout is seen as a sign of weakness. Employers exploit this stigma, making employees feel guilty for struggling. And number 3 is performance expectations. Many companies glorify overwork and they frame it as a mark of excellence. If you're not working late, you're simply not dedicated enough. If this is happening to you, please know that I've been there. The leadership I worked under was outdated, secretive, which is awful to be in a small environment and have people whispering and honestly, it was just dysfunctional. It wasn't sophisticated. It didn't have good systems in place yet. And when I spoke up about the immense workload and the constant obstacles, the leaders didn't get it, and I don't think they cared. Instead, they blamed me for not managing it better. They told me, "You're festering." I told them off. I don't fester. Anybody who really knows me knows I don't fester. I witnessed turnover, bad behavior from executives, and leadership that didn't even pretend to address the toxic environment. There was crying from people at lower levels, complaining from people at the higher ones. The pressure to meet unrealistic deadlines in a chaotic, unhealthy environment was really unbearable over time. Let me tell you, this is what toxic productivity looks like. And if you're thinking, "Come on, Noreen, that's just the way it is, and it's like that all over, and just deal," know that I agree with you. And as I said at the beginning, it's insane. Here's the bottom line, my friends. Old ways of working, these toxic, burnout-inducing methods, just don't work anymore. You deserve to thrive in a conscious workplace, one that values truth, trust, and passion. A place where inspiring goals and sufficient resources and passionate leadership help you navigate stress, not feed into it. But until we demand change, profit-driven motives will continue to take priority over humane treatment. So, what's the secret to reclaiming your power today? It starts with making a decision. I've said it before. You have to make a decision. Everything starts with making a decision, not a wish, not a vague idea, a real decision to defy the fear that's keeping you stuck. Is that decision having a difficult conversation, speaking up at meetings, clarifying what you truly want from your career and exploring different options? Folks, it's about taking control of your mindset, aiming for your greatness and unleashing your confidence. You must hold yourself sacred. You must speak your truth. You can't stay in situations where you're not being treated well. This is your lesson to master. And while it might not be easy, it's absolutely worth it. All change begins on the inside. And once you shift something, once you respect yourself, others will start to respect you too. Thank you for watching Defy and Hustle Radio with me, Noreen. I'm here to help you create the career and the life you deserve. In future videos, we'll learn how to employ vigorously new behaviors, how to think beyond what common sense would allow. I've walked the tightrope between corporate demands and my self-respect, and I know how hard it can be to take that leap forward towards your greatness. But here's the truth. It's not just possible, it is inevitable. When you make that decision and then take actions, step by step by step forward. I'm here to show you how. I'm Noreen Ehrlich, and this is just the beginning.